All right, welcome back. Let's talk a bit about sales tools and automation. And like I say, remember when you automate, when you implement any process or system in place, it's all to with the goal of not reducing or taking away the human element in the interaction, but instead to automate the tedious things and to enable you to be more human, to focus more on the relationships. So, for example, automating reminders to follow up so that you don't forget to follow up, right? So that you spend more time. Automating data capture, automating the kind of data input process, those kind of things. So if you haven't already, I want you to watch this video. It should come in the playlist before this video. So go and watch it, and then you can come back to this. This really sets the tone for identifying what and how to begin automation. But I'm going to jump ahead. So, pause, go back to the video if you haven't already, and then now let's talk a bit more about the focus funnel. So Rory, in his video, he talks about this focus funnel, and this is a framework that I want you to apply to not only anything that is sales related, but I recommend that you do this for everything in life, not only in your personal life, but everything in your business to-do list as well. So everything that comes into you as in terms of like what you need to do, those are defined as your task. The first question is you need to ask yourself, should I really be doing this? If I don't, then get comfortable with rejecting, get comfortable with saying no. And then a quick reminder here is, I talked a bit about the kind of importance and difference between being kind versus being nice. If you're uncomfortable with rejecting people, saying no to projects because maybe they're not a good fit, they're not value aligned, then the idea here is if you really care about the other party, even if the project is not something that you are personally interested in, you want to give a supportive no. So you want to say no, but be able to support them in the process. Maybe refer them to someone else who may be more interested. Maybe kind of coach and support them in how you can get to a yes if you do actually want to work with them, but maybe there are certain constraints that prevent you from saying yes right now. But at the end of the day, like whatever you say yes to, whatever you fail to say no to, is effectively going to be a no to something else. Because let's say, for example, if you say yes to this project right now, maybe you won't have the time or capacity to work on a future project, right? Assuming you need to do it, then the next question is, can I automate it? If you can automate it, then can you build up, like automation not only includes tech automation, like complete full automation, but it also includes things like, building templates that you can copy paste, templates that you can use as a process, creating like a workflow. That all falls under the category of automation because it makes it a lot easier to do the same thing over and over again. The next question, if it can't be automated, then can I delegate it to someone else? Can I get someone else on my team to do it? And obviously, if you can't delegate it, then it falls down to you. Then the question is, do I need to do it now? Is it important to get it done out of the way? Or is it better to procrastinate and maybe wait for a more opportune time? And like Rory mentions, this procrastination is not you putting things off that you know should be done now, but you're putting things off because there is a better time later. So you can stew, you can let things kind of ruminate and maybe even become even better over time as you capture more information, as you learn more about the topic. So apply this, and I will strongly say this is kind of my foundation in terms of how I operate, and it has allowed me to do so much more in terms of how I run my business, but also have more time to spend with my family and do the stuff that I enjoy doing. So when it comes to sales tools, sales automations, there's a lot out there. The first one that you need to know of is what we call this customer relationship management tool, the CRM tool. There are many different vendors. There's Salesforce, HubSpot, Pipedrive, Streak, Zoho, Google Sheets. At the end of the day, I would say any tool is better than no tool. There will be certain tools that will work better for different organizations, depending on number one, where they're at in the business, number two, their sales process. But basically what a CRM allows you to do is a CRM will capture and track information so that you can, number one, either know where your customer is at in the buyer's journey. Number two, it will also, some of them, not all of them here, will also allow you to track the conversation so that you can pick up where things left off. You can remember, let's say, for example, why this person didn't buy. Or let's say, if you have a sales rep that left for vacation, if you need someone else to pick up that lead, where the conversation left out. You can remember important things like birthdays, favorite food, preferences, those kind of things that may help build the personal relationship, but also kind of help you tailor the offering or product or service for your customer based on their preferences. So it's really valuable in that sense. A CRM is only as powerful as the kind of implementation that you put into it. If you implement a CRM, but all of your sales reps and yourself, you're not willing to put in the right information to maintain the database and to kind of nurture the database, you won't have meaningful data that you can act on. Make sense? Some CRMs also have powerful automation that allow you to set up like meeting reminders, set up marketing qualified lead or sales qualified lead triggers so that you can easily identify if they are ready to move on to that next stage. It can do things like tracking email opens, click-through rates, website visits. It can allow you to segment and categorize your contacts and so on and so forth. So very, very, very powerful. My advice, if you don't have a CRM or if you have newly implemented one for your organization, my personal recommendation is if you have less than 10,000 contacts in your database, I personally recommend that you start with a spreadsheet. A spreadsheet is not going to be as powerful. But why? Because number one, most CRM tools are not cheap. They're usually quite expensive. Starting with a spreadsheet allows you to get into the practice of data capture, and it allows you to, number one, identify what you want to track and how you want to track it. And number two, it helps you understand how you will organize your data. So don't bother to transfer into a formal CRM system until you have more than 10,000 contacts. Once you've really figured out the process, you know what you're capturing, and you have set up some processes around that. This ensures that there is a bit more consistency around your data set as well. So I'll give you some simple examples. So for example, if you're trying to track the source of a lead, right? In most CRM tools, depending on how you create the data entry, they may show up differently in reports. So for example, if a source and when your sales reps don't have any understanding on kind of best practice on how to input the data, someone might say, oh, we got this customer through an external event. Someone else may say, oh, through an event bracket external. And just the different nomenclature will actually reflect differently in the reports. So you need to make sure that you create certain standards around how you enter that data in order to pull up meaningful reports. Don't stress right now about getting everything perfect. It's almost impossible to have a perfectly clean data set, especially if you're a rapidly growing organization. My recommendation is if you're growing, if you're implementing a lot of new systems, focus on adapting new best practices for new incoming data. And then you can worry about tidying up the old data as your secondary priority, because you don't want to try to revamp everything and go spend hours and hours on old data that may not be relevant anymore. So focus on new standards moving forward, and then tidying up old data, like that is secondary. You can maybe even outsource that as well. So a lot of the systems, they themselves already have their own automations in place. If not, if you're doing manual things like Google Sheets, Airtable, maybe even like Streak or Pipedrive, you may want to automate some data entry with a tool like Zapier, for example. So it saves time, it reduces errors, and it reduces that inconsistency in data as well. So how do you structure your CRM? Most CRMs have a funnel or a visualized manner of looking at your customer leads, your leads or your prospects in terms of where they are in the buyer's journey. This is my personal kind of go-to, and I recommend at least these 5 stages. So they are reflective of the HubSpot model of awareness, consideration, decision, and close. So there's one on top of that. So prospects are people that you think are a good fit for your company, for your solution, right? Maybe they have not identified or they're not aware of the problem or solution yet. So they may be in either of these categories, but these are prospects. Inquiries are inbound. You know that they're actively trying to understand the problem, right? Consideration, they are starting to look for solutions. They're trying to solve that problem, and they're possibly starting to look at you as well. And then the decision stage or admit, negotiate is, they're starting to work out the finer details of the contract, the proposals, of understanding your solution. And then lastly, you also want to have different categories on number 1, close won. Those are customers that you close, you get. close loss, customers that are disqualified, not interested anymore, or what we call parking. So having a parking segment allows you to just make sure that you are not wasting your time with leads that are not at the right stage yet, or maybe interested, but maybe you need to circle back with them at a later or more opportune time, maybe because it's a different budget cycle or whatnot. So move those people to parking. That way they don't kind of count towards additional time in your funnel or your sales cycle. I briefly talked about MQL and SQL. So what exactly is it? MQL is what we call the marketing qualified lead. So these are basically behaviors that a customer has exhibit that indicate that they are in the mode to consume more content, that they're actively interested in learning more, and that you can actually feed them with more information to further educate them and advance them in their buyer journey process. Make sense? If you notice things like they've read a lot of content or they spend a lot of time on an article or video, if they're downloading a guide that might help you also qualify them, or if they've signed up for a workshop or webinar, those are kind of indicators. The other one is what we call a sales qualified lead. This is a bit stronger. These are behaviors that warrant that you should move your lead out of the marketing process and more actively engage them in the sales process or conversation, right? Because they're more likely to be ready to purchase. So defining MQL and SQL will allow you to improve your lead scoring, because obviously you can assign higher value to SQL leads or SQL related activities, so that your salespeople are they at least understand who is warmer, who is more ready, and they're not wasting their time with leads that are not qualified to buy, right? So, visiting your pricing page many times, or filling out a specific application, or emailing you with a product-centric question, right? Or if you know that, let's say, timing has changed, if you know what their budget cycle is, these can be set up as automatic triggers that will prompt you to reach out to them. What is lead scoring then? So I briefly talked about lead scoring. Lead scoring is basically the idea where you attach a value to certain behaviors that a prospect will take. And most of these behaviors are going to be tracked through your CRM. So for example, again, like how you set up your lead scoring, there's no right or wrong way of doing it. I would say as long as you do it, you will be on the right path. This is just a rough example, right? If someone visits your website, 1 point for each visit. If they unsubscribe, that's -50. So you have negative scores as well. If they attend 3 or more workshops, maybe it's a certain point. If they visit a product page, that's 15 points. If they add a product to a cart, that's maybe 40 points. So don't worry about getting it perfect. Start somewhere, and that's at least the first milestone. The idea around lead scoring is an evolving process. It's a live process that you keep going through, and you need to constantly improve it and triage to make it more and more accurate. So yeah, that's basically the idea here. Most established CRM systems actually allow you to set up automated lead scoring. They automatically track certain things and assign certain variables. But you can also do it manually as well. So some other tools just kind of throw the whole bus at you. Not all of them are tools that you will use, but some of them will be valuable for you regardless of how you interact. Zapier, I mentioned. Zapier allows you to tie in automations. So for example, it could be like if a contact is added to HubSpot, automatically add them to your MailChimp as well. Or if someone fills out this form, automatically send them this email, and then from there, put them into MailChimp, and then once they add it to MailChimp, send them a drip campaign. So you can set up those kind of automated workflows with a tool like Zapier. Magical Text Expander, that's one of my own favorite tools with Google Chrome. It allows you to do hotkeys to quickly fill things out. So maybe I can show you over here. If I'm sending someone an email, I can do, let's say, C8, and that gives me my scheduling prompt, right? For convenient scheduling, here's my calendar. I don't have to type the whole thing out. Or even like you can do HBD happy birthday, and you can have an automated prompt that you put in there as well. I have another one, a LinkedIn connection prompt, right? Pleasure connecting, and then I just go and change this, right? So speeds things up a lot if you find that you're often providing the same response over and over again. Duck and Phantom Buster are quite similar. They both automate a lot of LinkedIn related processes and outreach systems. Phantom Buster is a bit more powerful than Duck. It actually does some Instagram, Facebook, list building, automation, and workflows as well. Hunter.io is to find emails. Yet another mail merge is to send bulk mail merges through your Google account. Calendly is obviously for meeting booking. If you haven't already heard of Calendly, then definitely look it up. ActiveCampaign, what I like about it is it allows you to create some really nice workflows with things like, different if-then filters for drip campaigns. Like if a customer lands on a checkout page but doesn't purchase, send this email. If they take the action, then stop emailing them, right? So you can customize for that kind of automation. So try out some of these different tools. Some of them may help you more than others, but in the end of the day, your goal is to think about what can you leverage, how can you kind of automate some of those processes so that you don't have to spend so much time doing a lot of the manual and tedious things. Make sense? So I hope this has been helpful. Tune in. I think we are on to pretty much the last video in and around sales management.